It's control, just getting control. We're getting more and more. Obviously, we've had control nets.
Control.
I think it's very technical.
And now we have LoRa's and stuff to get more control, but it's...
I think public trust and regulation are one of the bigger ones.
So specifically to the apparel industry, I really think this question hits home for me. Integrating AI into the current design processes that we already have and having it be a cohesive workflow has been really challenging.
Because for the industry to really break out, I think we need to have corporate adoption.
So like for companies like us, where we're going in and applying AI to a specific, problem we're trying to solve, it's, for me, many players I know, it's really getting, that like 100% reliability and quality.
It's control, just getting control. We're getting more and more. Obviously, we've had control nets, and now we have LoRa's and stuff to get more control, but it's still...
Two that really come to my mind. One is subject expertise and knowledge. We don't have enough individuals who are at the highest levels understand how this infrastructure and technology works together. We have
still stimulating, but with client projects, that's,
And a lot of corporates are still kind of like looking a bit cautiously around in terms of the projects that they bring in, because there's still some concerns that there might be copyrights issues or, different moderation policies that different countries adopt, and then that leads to a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of people that are coming in that like the as I mentioned earlier, the beginner experts, they're coming in and building what they can, but at certain levels, you really need someone who's been in decades in the industry who truly understands it at the highest level. So that's one, we don't have enough subject experts. And number two is data and data management, essentially, and processing. A lot of this information that we're trying to utilize right now isn't labeled properly, meta tags, etc. And so even though, let's say your company and you want to use a model that you just bought or open sourced or etc., you haven't been recording any of the data that you actually need to feed it. And so most companies, SME especially, don't have the data they require to use or actually even start automating the processes that they want. And this is actually something I see in our business practice all the time, where they say, we want you to automate this, this, and this, but they don't actually have the information required to do so. They actually have to start building the processes, building the systems, and recording the information needed to.
But now that the election's over, I think that the current sitting government will have to kind of like address and touch that. And I think that kind of like once US and Europe and then hopefully Asia also addresses these things, and then policies and frameworks get put in place, I think we'll have a way bigger wave of adoption, like corporate adoption of these tools then.
Yeah, apparently Trump is going to start loosening regulation. They're going to look into more open sourcing, and apparently he's going to get rid of some of the regs that Biden put in. I think the statement was they're restrictive or something like that. But then again, I think all regulations really are restrictive to a certain extent in any market, I think. Question is just recording. This is question 6. What are the biggest challenges in AI development today?
I think there's still elements of understanding how best to integrate it in different processes and products. I think we're really trying to figure out the kind of human-computer interaction here. Apart from that, technical challenges are, I think, becoming more and more a thing of the past. I guess nowadays you could just use GPT to figure out how to code something. But of course, the challenge remains as to, that final kind of 10%, which is actually where, most of the time is taken. You still need to know how to code. I would suggest if you're going to create, a product that's actually going to be scalable and something that isn't just, straight out of the box.
Like there's a very small number of experts, like genuine experts in AI, in coding, processing, developing, training, writing the algorithms, understanding how AI works.
When you think about like what was like just imagine like what was possible with Deforum, the AI when it first came out, and you're like, wow, this is really, really glitchy. And then like by the end, just before like, you know, everything moved to like real photorealism, it got to a very stable version of itself. And it was really interesting watching that technology.
It's so hard. It's like hard for the biggest companies working on AI because it's such a hard problem that it's not something you can just throw money at and just get solved, right? But it's like you have to go through so many tests, like recreate so many different benchmarks and like test it in so many different, you know, scenarios and like different styles and different shots and all these different things that we test every time we make an upgrade, because we know that when people are going to use it, these are like when it actually counts. And I think people often say, you know, you put out a white paper and people are going to say, is this cherry picked, right? Because it's always, you can always produce some content that's going to look great because you took 1 out of 1,000 that just looked good. But when you actually go to use it, nobody has the patience to do it at all.
You can see there's a huge demand for experts in AI, from training to developing. Every step of building an AI model is crucial from the development side. So I think that's a very major key factor in.
I think the like big problem for development in AI is really people understanding what they can do with things that are already available out of the box. Like you'd be surprised what you can do with OpenAI straight out of just the API call and really good craft-based prompt engineering.
Well, there are a lot of them, especially on the, let's say, complexity and how should I say, you know, the legal stuff maybe. like you need to be ethics. That's something which is still a big elephant in the room. However, there are a lot of positive things. I think they will be solved in time. Yeah, the legal system is still working. It's true, even the legislation needs to be trained to understand what the heck is AI.
Yeah, it's really hard even for government to keep up on what laws they need to implement.
I think is one of the biggest things. So developers have struggled with wrangling the control so that you feel that you've got some sort of authorship and you're not just letting the AI run wild, basically. It's getting massively better. Two examples recently are the runway camera controls that have come in. So you get to be able to tell which way the camera goes. You know, Luma's integrated a lot of this as well, camera controls into their output. You've got Act 1, which enables you to control you know, the character movement. You've got Kling with the lip syncing, which is enabling you to control what the character.
You're balancing so many different cross-functional teams to get your product from point A to store, right? So, I mean, obviously you have your development phase, your design phase, where you're really being able to be creative, right? But then you kind of hit a roadblock when we get to, you know, actual development of product. And I think that's where the tangible part of fashion kind of, you hit that roadblock between what's on the screen and what actually needs to be produced, right? So we need to make sure that, you know, there's cohesion there. And sometimes what we generate is not always realistic to what can actually be, you know, produced within, you know, certain parameters, right? But that's where expertise comes in, of people who really understand, really have been doing design or production or development for a really long time. So those experts are always going to shine in this case. I'm hoping that they can take what they're generating through AI, but then really fine tune over that process and really bring the human element in to say, okay, this is doable, this isn't. But I think that's really where that's a
common theme with some of the guests that have been on, that they're almost always saying that the people that have an advantage are the people that have been in the industry already. Not that they're utilizing many of their technical skills with all the new AI stuff, but they're using their theoretical skills, you know, their composition skills, photography skills, whatever it is. And those people, for sure, their work shines so much more than people that are just coming into the creative space.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's authenticity.
Oh yeah, oh definitely, yeah.
Right. So like that's going to come through. That's so important to really be effective in anything, really. But really, when we're starting to bring in this non-human component, it's like you really need to think about like what does work and doesn't involve AI, but what does work and involves AI. So there's a lot of strategy and you know, really like a deep dive into the way that you work to really understand where it's important and where it just isn't. So, because you don't want to break what isn't, or you don't want to fix what isn't broken. And I think that's really the main goal here. But I think that's where a lot of people get tricked up. And so I think, you know, that's it. I mean, it raises a lot of concerns, right? But I think that, you know, in order to do business effectively with AI, it's just really like taking all those considerations into play and, you know, being mindful.
You've also got Laura's starting to break into it, so you've got more control of your character consistency. So it's starting to come in so that you can have a real strong authorship over stuff. But it has taken time, you know, to develop these areas of control. And I think we're going to see more of that control when we get 3D stuff bleeding in as well. So yeah, that's been a sort of challenge to the development of the tools integrated. Also, you know, in terms of development legality, I think that's been a big challenge. And we may hit it. We've seemed to have been breezing along without hitting a brick wall yet. We may at some point in the not too distant future hit a legal brick wall, and models will have to be rebuilt to sort of incorporate those legal rulings. Because at present, you know, it's the Wild West out there and they're just chucking every bit of scraped data in. We might hit that legal brick wall, which means that we have to, you know, sort of build up new training models.
So I hope you liked listening to those experts. You can watch this show on YouTube and get it on your TV at home in 1920 by 1080. Ooh. And you can also like our LinkedIn page, which is AImode, and that's on the screen right now. Should be some QR codes that you can scan. All right, until next time, guys, I shall see you soon. Bye.